So, maybe you are starting that wonderful season of life where you and your family are ready to pick out a house. I know my wife and I were a couple years ago, and we decided that we were going to need to try to find a house that wasn't just perfect for her or perfect for me, but we needed to find the perfect house for the family. So I decided that I was going to have a little bit of fun, but also, I mean, I know I'm dorky to think this is fun, but also a data-driven way to really help us determine which is the perfect house. So for me, fun was trying to figure out the world of Excel and really just some formula to creating these perfect selection for our house. So after a few folks have talked to me about wanting to learn more about this formula, I decided I'm putting together this video and I'm going to give you guys this resource for free. So this is the formula for the perfect house. So let's find the perfect house. All right. And there's going to be different ways that you could go about this, and I want you to know that this is just one formula. This worked for my family, and in the end it can just help be one other determining factor in your selection. But I think this will work for you guys to really find the best compromise. So step one, after you determine that you're going to go on this search, is that you as a family now need to decide, okay, what matters to us? What is the thing that we're looking for? Not the one thing, but like, what are the criteria that we want in a house? What are the areas or the categories or the elements that we're going to be evaluating? So my wife and I, along with our daughter, sat down and we looked at, okay, these are the things that are going to be important in some way to us. So we looked at the school, we looked at how many rooms the house has, we looked at the taxes, the space in each one of the rooms, storage, the outdoor atmosphere, like the area around it, like what type of neighborhood is it in, the neighbors that they would be, like how close are they, does it look like it's going to be a place where it'd be fun neighbors, association fees, distance from work, any appliances that come with it, any flooring that's already there, the maintenance of the location, and then convenience services like grocery stores nearby and things like that. So these were all the elements that we decided mattered to us. You're going to need to figure out, okay, so what matters to you? What are going to be the things that are important in your decision to finding a house? So go ahead and identify each one of those in this step. And then you're ready to begin the process of using this formula for finding the perfect house. So let's start with step one. Now you're going to do a prioritized rating of those different areas. So yeah, you can have tons of different things that are going to have a part in selecting this house, but the reality is maybe one of those is way more significant than the other, and vice versa. So what you're going to do here now is prioritize which of those categories is the most important and which of those is the least important, and go down and put those in a numeric prioritization. So what we did is each one of us did our own separate prioritization, because not everybody in the family has the same priorities, right? So each one of us did our own prioritization. You can see in this example here, my wife, she had taxes as the #1 priority, and then she had the amount of rooms, room space, and the school. So those were like her top 4 priorities or whatever. We decided that my wife and I would have 3 times the amount of voice in the prioritization as my daughter, but we also gave my daughter a voice. So what we did was we each did our prioritization, and then we multiplied that result times 3, and then my daughter's result was just given 1 value. So this is her prioritization, and then this middle column here where it has the X is the multiplication by 3, and then the final result is on the right column. That was for just the calculation fields in Excel. So that is the prioritization. You determine which is most important. Next step is then, as a family, you are going to then create your average. So each member of the family does their prioritization. If you want to have a certain weighting for each person's priority, then you go ahead and do that. So maybe you might decide that one member of the family has more say than the other. Maybe they would have a ×3 value, another member would have a ×2 value, another member might have a ×1 value. Whatever that is, you're going to then add all of those final raw scores up and then divide that by the number of members of the family, or any number you really want. So you're getting an average here, honestly. You could do it any number of ways. We did the 3, 3, and then the 1, and then we divided it by 7 to get this average. So here is our average prioritization based on what the family independently said, and we calculated it all together. So number 1 here is taxes, an additional room, or the amount of rooms, room space, the schools, and so on. And that's the way that we got our family average. This number is going to be important when we get into the next steps. So let's do that. Next step is to go ahead and start the hunting. This is the fun part. This is where you're going out there and you're looking at different houses. When you do that, you're going to want to have your different categories in mind. So what we did a few different things. We had either on a notebook or on an iPad or even on my phone, we had these categories listed, and then you'd have somewhere where you'd be collecting that data. So maybe you could just simply be writing them down, and each one of you individually would be doing this. So you'd go in there and you'd look, okay, how many rooms are there? Okay, I'd give this, out of a 10-point scale, I'd give this a 10. It's got the perfect amount of rooms that I'm looking for. Or you'll look at the appliances. Oh, you know what? They've got a washer and dryer, but they're kind of old. I'd give it a 7. Or it's brand new stuff. I'd give it a 10. So each one of you guys is going to write down your own 10-point number for each one of these categories. Okay, so that is step 3, and you'd have those all listed. And you would do that for every house that you visit. Step 4 now is going to be the part where it gets complex. This is where you do the math. So you've got your scores for each one, and now you're going to add each household member's score for each element. Okay, so you're going to take the number that one family member has, the other family member has, and another family member has. You're going to add those all up. All right, and that's your raw data for that house. Okay, then you're going to divide that number, that sum, by that rating average from the previous screen. And then that answer is the family's total for that element for that specific house. Sounds complex, right? So let's look at an example. So here, when we're looking at this, we are going to be looking at this example of the room space. Okay, so for house number 1, I gave it an 8 because I thought it was decently spacious rooms. My wife gave it a 9. Actually, my daughter decided she wasn't going to participate in the rating, but that's fine. She got to have a voice in the prioritization. So we just did R2. And then the rating average was a 3. So she said it was a 9. I said it was an 8. And then the rating average was a 3. So we added the 8 and the 9. That's a 17. Divided by the 3. That gives us a 5.7. So now for this house, house number A, or house letter A, 5.7 is the score. We did the same thing for the next house. I gave it a 6. She gave it an 8. We used that same rating average as a 3, and that house now has a 4.7. We could have just done the 14 as the score and then, done an average there divided by 2, but it does not give it the importance level that it needs to versus other things that are more important or less important. So that's why that rating average factoring in is important, because it weighs that number against the most important priorities. So that is the example of how that works. Let's look at how that really looks when you're totaling all up, because this is the last step here. Now you're going to add your family totals. So now, looking at what each family member said, you've now added those in for each element for the house, and you've divided it by the rating, and that's what goes in the box where it says house number 1. So for taxes, we added all of ours up, we divided it by the rating scale, and then the answer was 10 for the first house, 12.5 for the next house, and 8.6 for the third house. So there you can see where the taxes are going to factor in and which one was better in that category. And then in the end, those things are all just going to be simply added, and at the bottom you've got a final total. And you can see it was pretty close between house number 1 and house number 2. We had a 45.3 and a 45. And I'll tell you guys, in the end, the house that we chose, it might not have been solely based on this rating. It was for me, but not for my wife. But we talked it out, and in the end, house number 1 is the house that I am right now recording this video from. So I hope that this is going to be something that will help you in your factoring together the perfect house for you guys. So I'm sure that either using this formula or something else, you are going to find the perfect house. So congratulations on that process. Have fun doing it. And I hope that this has been helpful, and there's other stuff that I'd love to help you guys with, so go ahead and reach out to me. You can find this video and I'm going to put a link in the notes of this video that will take you to the actual Excel spreadsheet that you can download from my website that'll help you actually put this thing into play so you don't feel like you're having to reinvent the wheel. But yeah, go ahead and find that and any other information on my website, ArmandSheffy.com. Reach out to me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and I'd love to be able to see if there's any other ways that I can help you. I hope this has blessed you, and I'll give a shout out to my friend Natalie. Congrats on the wedding, and I hope that you are going to find the perfect house. All right, take care, and God bless.